We are not rich by what we possess, but by what we can do without. He who is cruel to animals becomes hard also in his dealings with men. We can judge the heart of a man by his treatment of animals. Act in such a way that you treat humanity, whether in your own person or in the person of any other, never merely as a means to an end, but always at the same time as an end. Look closely. The beautiful may be small. I had to deny knowledge in order to make room for faith. One who makes himself a worm cannot complain afterwards if people step on him. Dare to think. All our knowledge begins with the senses, proceeds then to the understanding, and ends with reason. There is nothing higher than reason. Two things fill the mind with ever-increasing wonder and awe the more often, and the more intensely the mind of thought is drawn to them: the starry heavens above me, and the moral law within me. Whereas the beautiful is limited, the sublime is limitless, so that the mind in the presence of the sublime, attempting to imagine what it cannot, has pain in the failure but pleasure in contemplating the immensity of the attempt. Rules for happiness: something to do, someone to love, something to hope for. For peace to reign on earth, humans must evolve into new beings who have learned to see the whole first. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing was ever made. Seek not the favor of the multitude. It is seldom got by honest and lawful means. But seek the testimony of few, and number not voices, but weigh them. Genius is the ability to independently arrive at and understand concepts that would normally have to be taught by another person. The busier we are, the more acutely we feel that we live, the more conscious we are of life. The death of dogma is the birth of morality, but only he who, himself enlightened, is not afraid of shadows. Space and time are the framework within which the mind is constrained to construct its experience of reality. Thoughts without content are empty. Intuitions without concepts are blind. Dare to know. Have the courage to use your own intelligence. Have patience a while. Slanders are not long-lived. Truth is the child of time. Ere long she shall appear to vindicate thee. The reading of all good books is like a conversation with the finest minds of past centuries. We are enriched not by what we possess, but by what we can do without. If the truth shall kill them, let them die. Man must be disciplined, for he is by nature raw and wild. Treat people as an end, and never as a means to an end. Have the courage to use your own reason, that is, the motto of enlightenment. Act only according to that maxim whereby you can at the same time will that it should become a universal law. The light dove, in free flight cutting through the air the resistance of which it feels, could get the idea that it could do even better in airless space. Likewise, Plato abandoned the world of the senses because it posed so many hindrances for the understanding, and dared to go beyond it on the wings of the ideas. In the empty space of pure understanding, how then is perfection to be sought? Wherein lies our hope? In education, and in nothing else. There is something splendid about innocence. But what is bad about it, in turn, is that it cannot protect itself very well, and is easily seduced. Law and freedom without violence. Anarchy. Law and violence without freedom. Despotism. Violence without freedom and law, barbarism. Violence with freedom and law. Republic. In all judgments, by which we describe anything as beautiful, we allow no one to be of another opinion. Enlightenment is man's emergence from his self-incurred immaturity. Marriage is the union of two people of different sexes, with a view to the mutual possession of each other's sexual attributes for the duration of their lives. An action, to have moral worth, must be done from duty. Experience without theory is blind. But theory without experience is mere intellectual play. Morality is not properly the doctrine of how we may make ourselves happy, but how we may make ourselves worthy of happiness. The people naturally adhere most to doctrines which demand the least self-exertion and the least use of their own reason, and which can best accommodate their duties to their inclinations. But although all our knowledge begins with experience, it does not follow that it arises from experience. Nature is beautiful because it looks like art, and art can only be called beautiful if we are conscious of it as art, while yet it looks like nature. It was the duty of philosophy to destroy the illusions, which had their origin in misconceptions. Whatever darling hopes and valued expectations may be ruined by its explanations. All false art, all vain wisdom, lasts its time but finally destroys itself. And its highest culture is also the epoch of its decay. Without man and his potential for moral progress, the whole of reality would be a mere wilderness, a thing in vain, and have no final purpose. A good will is good not because of what it affects or accomplishes, not because of its fitness to attain some intended end, but good just by its willing in itself, and, considered by itself, it is to be esteemed beyond compare much higher than anything that could ever be brought about by it in favor of some inclinations. And indeed, if you will, the sum of all inclinations, even if by some particular disfavor of fate, or by the scanty endowment of a stepmotherly nature, this will should entirely lack the capacity to carry through its purpose, if despite its greatest striving it should still accomplish nothing, and only the good will were to remain, not of course, as a mere wish, but as the summoning of all means that are within our control. Then, like a jewel, it would still shine by itself, as something that has full worth in itself. All human cognition begins with intuitions, proceeds from thence to conceptions, and ends with ideas. The schematicism by which our understanding deals with the phenomenal world is a skill so deeply hidden in the human soul that we shall hardly guess the secret trick that nature here employs. Simply to acquiesce in skepticism can never suffice to overcome the restlessness of reason.